Hey, Dan here, and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Hope. We're going to be looking at some of the stories and the journey of the youth and schools' well-being. We've been so encouraged by the amount of churches, schools, organisations that have grabbed hold of the youth and schools' well-being journey, helping young people discover God's plan for their well-being, find restoration and recovery in Him, knowing Jesus, the Prince of Peace. It was such an exciting journey making the Youth Wellbeing series and seeing these young people go on this journey to discover their well-being, all the creative exploration that they did. And then we decided to create the school's wellbeing journey. And here's Sammy to tell you more.
So given the success of Youth Wellbeing and the main Wellbeing Journey course, we realised we'd missed a trick with schools. And yet we know that wellbeing is a massive issue for our young people, and where do we find them? We find them in schools. And after the pandemic, schools had been asked to put together a recovery curriculum. There was a sense in which wellbeing, or young people's wellbeing, was hidden whilst we were in lockdown and young people were out of school. And when they went back to schools, schools were tasked with scooping those young people up and looking after their wellbeing. So we have rewritten and repurposed the youth wellbeing journey for schools. We've taken the recovery curriculum guidance into account. We've also looked at the non-statutory guidance for RE at Key Stage 4 for those upper school years of year 10 and 11. So the school's wellbeing journey would sit perfectly in a school who was looking for material to support their older pupils with PSHE or with non-GCSE RE, whether that's for a whole day, whether it's at a lunchtime, an assembly or a discrete lesson. But just like the youth wellbeing journey, it covers all aspects of wellbeing, but in a very educational rather than proselytising way. So we follow those same 4 young people through their challenges, through their exploratory questions, through their journey to discover what it means to look after your well-being.
Amazing, such a brilliant resource, and we'd love to share some of the stories of how it's impacted young people right now. So sit back and enjoy these stories of impact in the lives of schools and young people across the nation.
Hi, I'm Marcus, I'm from the YMCA Bournemouth, and we've been using the Wellbeing Journey, specifically the schools one. It's been fantastic to use it in a secular school who aren't religious, but being able to speak freely about mental health and the importance of it within a Christian context has been fantastic. We've loved the content of the videos, we've loved the discussions, and the young people absolutely love it. So I really recommend this resource to anyone, particularly the schools. If you're in a secular environment, it's been fantastic and amazing to see the progress in so little time, and we love to take this further to more schools.
Hey, it's Dan here, and I'm going to be joined by Will today, who's from just south of London. An amazing story of what's been happening in his school, in the school that he serves in and serves with, as he's helped them go on their own wellbeing journey.
So my name's Will. I work in a school down south near Crawley, and I work with a team of youth ministers, trying to bring the gospel into the school setting. That's what I do.
So Will, how did you find out about the wellbeing journey?
Yeah, I think I just sort of signed up on the Hope newsletter, and I noticed that the resource had come through, or the adult one was being developed at the time, and I remember really clocking it because I thought, actually, this is a very interesting way to introduce people to the gospel, basically because there's such a huge need around well-being, and I could just see everybody being able to engage with this, regardless of where they were at with faith, and it just being a sort of an amazing entry point for people to enter into a conversation about Jesus. So that was how I heard about it, and then obviously the schools one the youth wellbeing journey was started to be developed, and I think really what caught my eye about it was just the way in which it was filmed. It seemed very fresh, the sort of YouTuber vibe about it. There was a rawness about it, and the fact that there was young people involved at the center of it. It was just very real and innovative, and I just thought, this is what we need, and it'd be great to use this at some point.
That's amazing. And how did you use it, and what impact did it make in the life of the school?
The way we ended up using it was, I was told by the leadership of the school that I had to run an inset for the whole school just as we were transitioning out of lockdown, so the staff could have their inset And so I needed to do something for the 600 or so students. And so we basically designed a sort of a day of reflection or a morning of reflection using the Wellbeing journey. We used about 4 sessions, and just created this journey that they could go through while they were at home. And we created ways in which we knew whether they were engaging with it or not. And I think that was the thing that I was amazed by, was there was a part of me that didn't think that anybody would engage with something that was basically they could choose not to be a part of if they didn't want to be. And but by the end of the day, we could clearly see that at least a third of the whole school had engaged with the resource to the end. And the other thing was that in terms of their feedback, so the way we captured feedback along the way, there was just nothing negative. They just loved what they were listening to and hearing about, and it evidently, really hit the spot in terms of their needs, and especially just coming out of that lockdown moment where there's a lot of talk around well-being, and it just seemed to really connect with people in a positive way.
Wow, what an amazing story of how you can use the youth and school's wellbeing journey in the life of a whole school. And so what is the lasting impact that you've seen, Will, in the life of the school as you've gone on this journey and seeking to see more young people come to know Jesus?
Yeah, well, we have sort of a whole sort of discipleship framework within our school setting. So, we really believe it's important that we have these, high points where we take them off timetable and give them the opportunity to step back and to reflect and to ask some bigger questions. And I think, definitely as a result of that moment, there would have been young people who kind of stepped into the other things that we have on offer. We're just sort of waiting to kind of see where we might use the resource in the future, whether we build it into the curriculum somehow, or we use it on future days of reflection, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that would be sort of our sort of main takeaways from it.
And what would you say, Will, to those who are wanting to use or thinking about using the schools or youth wellbeing journey?
What would I say? I'd say it's incredibly easy to use, which is always helpful, particularly in a school setting when there's so much going on. It's very user friendly. I think it can be run by young people for young people, just the way in which it's put together. And I think it's, like I've said, it just really touches upon questions that young people are asking. It's very relevant to where they're at. So I think, it's a great gateway resource into the faith. And if you wanted to run sort of another sort of introduction to faith thing afterwards as a sort of an opt-in thing, it's a great tool to use with everybody, and then to invite them onto something deeper.
Amazing. Thanks, Will, for joining us today, hearing your story. You can hear loads more stories that will inspire you about what God's doing across the nation in the lives of children, young people and adults, where churches are being equipped to reach more people for Jesus. Thanks for joining us on Talking Hope today. Check out the rest of the episodes and subscribe below.